Hey, everybody, welcome back to Matt and Dwight Just Might, a podcast about two Midwest-based comedians who are just trying to figure it out as they make their way through life and comedy and everything in between. And one of those things that falls in between is year two of their podcast. Welcome to the first episode of the second season of Matt and Dwight Just Might. I am Matt
Ooh,
Alano Martin. With me is Dwight, who did very silent finger guns into the ceiling when I said first episode of year two. That was just an exclusive for the YouTube viewers. If you're
yeah.
listening to this,
I'm
you and you're
bringing I'm bringing heat for the YouTube this year. All
yeah.
year. Teasers for thank you audio listeners. But
Hmm.
we're gonna be pumping up that YouTube channel this year. So if
Yeah.
you want to
We're gonna
see
be
all the pantomimes, you're gonna have to watch the video.
yeah, if you our space work is something we've really committed to this year. And you say, how can you do that in a podcast where you're literally tied to a microphone and your web camera? Well, you'll just have to tune in to see. You'll just have to tune in to see how we do it.
You thought I would have learned the lesson from my see, I like that. I like that. Yeah,
Thank you.
this is some Muhammad Ali float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. You thought I would have
Hmm.
learned the lesson from my first two albums when I did several act outs on those audio albums. And there's a bit where it's just silence.
Yeah,
It's like that. I'm sure Sirius XM would pick that up.
they love that.
Sure,
Yeah.
they'd love that. But in any case, Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year, Matt.
Happy
How
New
are
Year,
you, my
Dwight.
friend?
I'm good, man. Just coming off of a hot weekend of shows. Had a very fun weekend of shows to ring in the new year, and so I'm feeling invincible until that next set when, the bottom drops out again, and then I'm like, well, I guess I'm done with comedy. I guess.
Yeah, that's great. Those New Year shows aren't always what you just said. They are not always hot. They're work.
Hmm.
You're dealing with crowds that are excited to bring in the new year. They got the days off leading up to it and after, so they've been drinking all day. At least the crowds that
Oh,
I bring out.
yeah. Well, I think the other thing that happens is I think there's people that are already like pretty, pretty lit, but before they even get to the club. Alternately, you also have people that are really tight as an audience because they've put so much expectation on this night, right?
Yeah,
This has to be good because this is our thing that we're doing for New Year's. We got all dressed up, we spent money, parking, blah blah. It's a ratcheted up a little bit more than the normal going out on a Saturday night pressure on the
right.
couples that are out there. I'm very happy to say, like, I've definitely done New Year shows in the past where it has been work. The people are tight, and you're
Mhm.
like, you got to get them. I'm happy to say that my lineup I had at the Attic, the Comedy Attic, was fantastic. Joey Cerrone hosted, got him warmed up, got him going. Shanda just crushed. Shanda was featuring for me, Shanda song, and it
Crushes.
like to the point that like she could have just headlined. So I really just I mean, she was doing so well, like particularly on the Saturday night show, so the December 30th show.
Yeah.
In the green room to Jared, I was like, we could just let her keep going. She's got it. Like, I don't need to go up there and ruin this. But no, with those two before me, it was like home run derby, like I even at my home club of the Comedy Attic, I'm hard pressed to think of three back-to-back shows that I've had headlining
Yeah.
there that were as good as this weekend were. So
That's dope,
yeah,
man. Congrats. Did
yeah.
you guys do the
Thank you.
champagne toast at midnight as well?
We did. Yeah, we did the toast and we had to come up with a device because you have to like do the countdown, you have to fill time to get to it. And so what I did is I wrapped up my set about 10 minutes till. And then I
Mhm.
brought Joey and Shanda and Jonas Schroed up because Jonas had done a guest set on the Late Show. And we had multiple mics already set up because I told Jared we were going to do this. Um, Shanda and Joey, we had talked about it a couple days before. It was like we need to kind of not rehearse it, but we need to have an idea of what we're going to do up there, or it's a train wreck. It's not great.
Mhm.
And so what we did is I was like, let's each write a jokey New Year's resolution. I'll kind of be like hosting it. I'll ask you, okay, Shanda, what's your New Year's resolution? And then we were tried to flip it into like doing crowd work, and nobody in the crowd wanted to play along.
Oh,
And so then luckily we just started riffing and it worked out pretty well. It was actually pretty fun 10 minutes up there leading
yeah.
up to it. And then I did dip into, because nobody was playing along with the crowd work stuff that I did, I just changed the topic. I said, did anybody have a big 2023? Did you get married? And there was a couple who had gotten married. So I
Hmm.
did a little crowd work with them. And that allowed me to pivot into okay, they're just 4 months in. Who's has been married a very long time? And there was an older
Hmm.
couple right up front. I was like, how long y'all been married? And they've been married for 31 years.
You gotta
And I was
pull the
able to like,
teeth.
yeah, but I mean, I was able to
Yeah.
make it somewhat seamless, well, maybe not. No, you can see the seams. You could definitely see the seams, but they were well stitched. They were fine
Man, you
craftsmanship
got some big
stitching.
ass seams on your jeans right there. Everybody
Uh,
wants to chat in the crowd until you
until they get
don't want
called
them,
on.
until you ask
I
them
know exactly, man.
specifically.
I had a woman in the deep cave part. So way back,
Mhm.
one of the shows, I was doing my chunk about therapy, and as soon as I went into for several years, I've been going to sliding scale therapy, and this woman's like, "Woo!" I was like, "Hell yeah!" I was like, "Are you also in sliding scale therapy?" Crickets. I was like, "I could see you. I saw who wooed. I know who did it." And so I had made her like, she's like, "No, I am a therapist." I'm like, "Okay, good. All right." See, it's just like,
Oh
but yeah,
man.
like you
Yeah.
wanted to get woo, and then immediately like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't.
It's very funny to have a woo girl immediately regret and get shy.
Well,
Like
I would
she's
have
a
like.
therapist now, but in her heyday, she was out here just wooing it up, and something triggered, and she's like, "Oh no, I can't revert back
her
to my
her
past."
her training kicked in, is what
Yeah,
you're saying. Yeah,
yeah.
it's either that or her date just like elbowed her sharply in the ribs, like shut the fuck up. It's like yo. But it was a great weekend. I do have one very hilarious afterthought about or thing that I learned after the fact from this weekend. Uh, is, I bought this fancy ass camera and I'm committed. I'm going to tape every show.
Uh-huh.
And what I've been doing is I've been taping the entire show that I'm on. And then I just chop up the people's sets and I Dropbox them to them. I'm like,
Oh
I'm just
damn,
paying
that's dope.
forward for the scene. I'm just like, hey, if you're on the show with me, I got to go in and edit the shit anyway. So like cutting out other people's sets takes an extra like 10 minutes. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that big a deal. And I just throw it all up in Dropbox and I send them the links. And so because of that, I'm kind of just setting my camera up and like the video is starting to end, right? And I just hit record. It's like, but I'm not actually watching through the viewfinder during the comics before me.
Right.
And so 3 very hot shows. Looks great, right? The lighting is perfect for my 4K camera that I just bought. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
crisp. The audio's good. There is a Happy New Year tinsel hanging from the ceiling that is so perfectly placed between where the camera was and center stage that it
Oh my
blocks
God, Matt.
mine and Joey Cerrone's face like 80% of the time that we're on
Oh,
stage. We just have giant square metallic tinsel that says Happy New Year. It never even turned like so that you got the flat, like the skinny edge towards the camera. It just stayed flat, wide edge. I mean, if you tried to place it to do this. You couldn't get it as perfectly as it was. Shanda luckily is shorter, and so
yeah.
her videos might actually be usable. Her video, but like I was just like, oh, I don't think there's a single
You didn't.
joke where at least some point my face is completely obscured by this fucking pencil
You
that is
were. The
hanging.
crowd was so full and hot that you didn't even get nervous enough to
Mm.
check where your camera was, the view.
I mean, I checked it. I framed it up when the video was up, so I was like,
Yeah,
okay, this is the right height. This is like the edges of the stage.
that's
And so, yeah.
that's incredible. And it might just be what the algorithm's into now.
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
like covering this up. This is what's
this
been
tapes.
hurting my yeah, my face is what the algorithm doesn't like. And
So
so now,
that's where you put the subtitles, just right over the dome.
yes, exactly.
Just put the subtitles right
Oh
there.
man, oh my God.
Promise.
But yeah, so lesson learned. I learned a lesson on December 2nd when I started editing the videos.
That's funny.
And that's what it's all about. 2024 is all about a year of learning, everybody. And that's something I learned, and I'm going to pass it on to all the listeners so that they hopefully don't make the same mistake that I did.
Take it and try. Did you send Joey his faced out video? Because that would be hilarious.
Not yet. I'm uploading all of them. I am going to send
Okay.
them to him because I haven't gone through it. I've been skipping forward and everything, just kind of
Hmm.
checking stuff out. And like I was, because like again, and this is going to come up later with one of the questions of the week that we have. But I am trying to clip up not just jokes, but crowd work stuff. I'm giving in,
Yeah.
several episodes ago, I fucking gave up and
Hmm.
I'm doing the thing that I hate, which I'm feeding the problem. I'm going to be part of the problem since I obviously can't be part of the solution.
You're just following orders
Nobody
from
likes
the
my solution. I'm just
algorithm.
exactly, yeah.
Dude, okay.
I'm just like an American soldier in Vietnam. I'm just following
Just following orders. Yeah, several decades later, you're going to be a war-torn man.
No, I'm
I
just saying
remember
that
the
when they have that TikTok parade, feel free to spit on me, okay? When I come home from the TikTok wars,
you
the
ain't
algorithm
shit.
wars. No.
Okay, we got to talk about this because
Mhm.
the way your shows get promoted sometimes is hilarious to me.
Okay.
What was New Year's
Oh
Steve?
my God.
It's
It,
Steve.
it was
They put it on the Comedy Attic
they put it on the
Instagram.
Comedy website. Yeah, that was not my idea. That was Jared Thompson, owner of the Comedy Addicts idea. And he thought it was hilarious, and so that was enough. He thought New Year's Steve, because it wasn't New Year's Eve, it was New Year's Steve.
I don't.
And yeah, because it's a, not, it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve joke, I think he was making or referencing. But we also didn't do anything to care. Like, it wasn't a thing where like Steve's get in free. It wasn't like a thing
Yeah,
where it was an LGBTQ lineup, which would have made more sense. Like, we've got New
yeah,
Year's Eve and New Year's Steve. No, he just thought it was funny. And
and
so he
that was
called it
enough.
that. I'm very happy to say that even despite that very confusing, because even when we're in the club, I was like, there's gonna be people who bought tickets to that thinking they bought tickets for New Year's Eve because they just glanced at it,
Right.
and just instead of calling it Saturday night, December 30th show, you called it this thing that is so close.
Yeah.
There's gonna be people showing up tomorrow night for the sold out shows that can't get in because they
Right.
bought tickets for the wrong night, which, as far as I heard, didn't happen. And
That's great.
we sold out both of the New Year's Eve shows, and we almost sold out that New Year's Steve show.
Damn.
They were like, yeah, no comps, which was great.
Yeah.
I'm very excited every time there's no comps and you can fill up the room as a headliner. It's very nice, good feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was not my idea, and there was a lot of texting going on in the weeks leading up to the show. I was like, okay, man, I guess if this is what you think is a good idea, it's
Where
your
does that
club.
rank if you had to rank that versus promoting Matt Rife ticket giveaway? Like, where's that rank on show promotion? Would you do
The
either
Matt,
again?
I mean, yes, because I'm a whore. You know that I'm a whore, and
Yeah,
yeah.
because I'm a hoe.
Um, this is not nearly as bad as the Matt Rife thing, because this at least still had my name and my face on it
Mhm.
as the headliner. And for the people that don't know what we're talking about, we talked about this in the first season of the podcast. I did a show at a club that I was the feature for the Friday Saturday, but I headlined. I think it was the Sunday night show. I think I headlined Thursday and Sunday. I think I headlined on either side. I can't
Yeah.
remember, but anyway, definitely the Sunday show. The way they promote it was like, if you come to the show, you'll win chances. You can get entering into a raffle to win Matt Rife tickets. That's how they promoted the show. It didn't have my name, and I wasn't the only headliner they did this to.
Yeah.
They did it to a couple other headliners. This club did, and to their credit, it worked. They got a lot of fucking people out on a Sunday night,
Yep.
but those people also were not happy. None of them were happy to be
Right.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me New Year's Steve all day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll take New Year's Steve. I'll take Fleester weekend. I'll take.
I saw a regional club post a Yelp review. I sent you a text of this
Oh yeah,
that said the headliner on New Year's Eve talked about white babies. 2 stars. It was like such a funny thing to get mad about. Like, they'd be cool
yeah.
about it any other day, but this is New Year's Eve. And I just thought it was funny because I had the week off. So
So
usually I'd be talking about white babies.
I was gonna say you made all the white babies comments you wanted to, but it was privately, so nobody could say anything. Nobody could Yelp review you.
No Yelp review.
Yeah, you sent me that to me, and like, I didn't know which club. And should we say which comic it was that was headlining?
No.
Okay. Very funny comic that we're both big fans of, and a good, not only just a great comic, but also if there's one person who just does not give a fuck about any kind of, like, probably gonna like put that review on their website.
Probably.
Like, gonna be like, hell yeah.
Probably.
But yeah, that was pretty amazing. I'm glad you sent that my way, because I was not checking that out when it happened, for sure.
That's so funny. Well, I had a New Year's off. It was great. I took my dad to the Colts game.
Good.
New Year's Day. We had
Nice.
It was like,
Did they win?
The Colts did win. We beat the Raiders,
Okay.
which I'm sure everybody on this podcast cares deeply about. But it was just like family time from the middle of December to January 1st. And
Mhm.
it was a lot. I'm tired. I had those Dayton shows headlining
Mhm.
the Dayton Funny Bone before the week before Christmas, that Friday and Saturday, and also trying to
Mhm.
throw my dad a birthday party for 65th away.
Oh my God.
But luckily it was just two shows. So it was a show Friday and a show Saturday. Both shows were full. I had Gerald Beeman from Dayton. I think he's Dayton or Columbus. And then,
I think
uh,
he's Dayton, I think. Yeah.
yeah, he's super funny, man. He's new. I think he's
Mhm.
going to be really good. And then Layla Ingalls, who's very new. This was her first weekend as a host, and she was super excited. Was razzing her in the green room, just trying to get her to relax. But
Mhm.
she, it's just funny because she had her notebook and she had everything written down, from how to say hello to the audience to how to bring up the next
Uh-huh.
person. Yeah. It's so
I'd rather
funny.
they have that. I'd rather a new person have that than just get up there and be like, just whiff it and
Yep.
also like get your name wrong and
Yep. I
like
agree.
hell yeah.
Dude, I agree. I was like, this person's going places. This
Hmm.
person's going places. I thought it's very cool to work with people that are emotionally intelligent and just professional and mature. Like
Hmm.
Jarrell, when I got to the green room, asked if there's any topics that he wanted me to stay away or that he that I wanted him to stay away from.
Hmm.
Uh and
Just say white babies.
I said, man, listen, being a black man is my thing. I'm the only man in America doing that, so
Uh-huh.
you
Yeah.
can talk about something else. But
Could you
yeah,
not be black? That'd be great.
yeah, could you just not be a black man in America? But yeah, I thought it was cool that he did that. I don't tell features what to say, what not to say. I don't care. But I think,
Mhm.
when you're working with someone that you haven't worked before, it's a professional thing to do. That's
Yeah.
as for the host and for the feature. Now, Layla asked the same thing just out of like, hey, also me, and I said I don't care.
Hmm.
Like, and I don't, but I told her a lot of headliners would want the host to be on the cleaner side,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
she is not.
Okay.
Which she is not. So, I think that's a good tip for everyone. This is the second time this happened to me in the last month.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but
Although a
yeah,
little slightly more appropriate in a club setting than it was at the corporate that you had, where
sure.
the host comic was absolutely filthy at a corporate
Yeah.
is the biggest no-no. In a club, like
Right.
okay, if the host is a little dirty, it's still not the best move for a host to be like that. Because it definitely changes the expectations and energy for sure. So
Right.
yeah, you need to start
Yeah.
just being more of a totalitarian and just be like,
you
okay.
you only, yeah, send me your dry bar tape and let's see.
Yes. Some of your jokes, I will rewrite them. I'll make them appropriate for my audience. And
Right.
then,
That's like every comic is different though. So I don't care about, I think I can recover if the host needs
yes.
it. Like
Yeah.
if I can't recover from a bad host, then I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like now people will ask their features not to touch topics.
Mhm.
I remember when I was coming up as trying to get feature work and ask people to bring me on the road, a couple of people were like, "You're just too similar to what I talk
Mhm.
about," and I used to hate that shit, but now I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. So
Yeah.
I like to be in the room and watch the feature, and that way I can comment or maybe adjust on the fly. And you can always be
Yes.
like, Jarrell is talking about blah blah blah, or
Exactly.
yeah, and then your if your joke is that similar, just don't
Mhm.
do it.
Just don't do it that night.
Don't
Yeah.
do it then.
No, 100%. And I mean, especially, I didn't do it much this weekend because the shows were so full. I didn't have a place to sit. I would have had to
Mhm.
stand kind of awkwardly in the way to watch the entire show.
Right.
But I know Joey's material inside out. I know Shanna's material inside out. And so I didn't feel like I needed to be in there. And I would pop
Right.
in and see how they're doing and read the energy. But 100%, you should watch the show up until you go on. Even if you're not headlining, if you're featuring, even if it's a showcase show, you really should be in the room watching because exactly what you said. Maybe they got a joke that's almost identical to yours.
Yep.
Maybe they're doing topics that they're doing the topic and like the crowd isn't feeling it. And you're like, okay, I maybe they're going to not do that material, or my approach is different enough on that topic that maybe they will get on board. I mean, there's just, you get so much more information than just being in the green room,
Mm-hmm.
being outside smoking, you know, all the
Mm-hmm.
things that are there for the hang and not for the work that you're there to do, you know.
Right. It's true, man. It's like when I was living in New York, you'd see people just because everyone pops in and leaves immediately,
Mhm.
but the audience is there the whole show. So you'd see comics come in and talk about whatever the topical joke of the day was. And it's not that different. It's just like whatever they wrote on the 7 train. And the
Yeah.
audience just like, oh, motherfucker, he's talking about this shit again. And it's
Right.
just the show's bad. Like
Yeah.
that's a bad show. And that can happen like at a showcase, especially,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
if the headliner or feature is just not paying attention.
Yeah. I mean, I saw, you know, I was doing a show in New York, this is years ago. And it's a show that Rosebud Baker used to run with her old boyfriend. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a showcase style show,
Dayton.
right? Yeah, that was it. Yeah, yeah. So the two of them ran this show and I was on it. And um I was watching everybody, and I actually came to the show before that one
Uh-huh.
and was just in the audience, chilling in the audience because a friend of the pod, Sally Brooks, was on that earlier show, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm watching, and this three or four comics all popped in because they came from another show and they were going off somewhere else. They popped in, and three of them all did the same crowd work with the same dude in the front
Oh
row.
my God. Yep.
And on the third one, the guy's like, "Where are you from, sir?" And the guy goes, "We've covered this." And then the comic got shitty. And it's like, no, don't be
Yeah.
shitty. Don't be
Yeah.
shitty. It's
Yeah.
like, also, if you just rolled in here and did jokes, that wouldn't have been a problem, you know?
Yeah, man. It's the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to those two comics. I got the Dayton date at the expense of my Wiley's date. So I had
Mm,
seen comics do both clubs, and
yeah.
I thought it was okay, like to
Yeah.
just because nobody knows who the hell I am. Anyway, so I had reached out to Wiley's after I posted about this Dayton date in December. I was like,
Hmm.
hey, here are my summer avails. And just in a very passive aggressive message back was like, saw that you're working Dayton, therefore I cannot put you up, which
Mm,
has to be a new policy because I've seen comics
yeah.
work both. And I was
Is
talking
it
to
the
Jarrell,
same? Is it the same booker for Wiley's that it's always been?
it is.
That
And
that seems very out of character for them too, but maybe they
well,
also aren't the owners of the club.
Jarrell
So
was
maybe,
saying that she's been getting big timed by comics that have
uh,
been working there for a long time that are starting to get management.
oh,
No,
okay.
she deals with everybody like it's very easy to deal with, but
Yeah.
when you get agents involved and stuff like that and they start asking for minimums, so
Yeah.
um that at least that's what the rumor is that it's been a rough year for them.
Hmm.
And she's adopting more of a no tolerance policy, which
Hard
get
line. Yeah.
it. I get
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna keep my Dayton dates because it's less work and more money.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to make that decision. You know, and I had texted you about this too. Like, I recently made the decision to switch clubs in a market that I've been working for years
Hmm.
because just I was been headlining it for years and I love the people and it's cool and everything, but it's never been great.
Right.
And like, unfortunately, like a lot of clubs, they just don't do a lot of marketing and they just don't, you know.
Yep.
And so I reached out, and the other club, it pays like twice as much.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
You can't.
I hate to be like this, but like, I've given this other one time and it's just not caught on, right? In that
Right.
market, my name is not enough. I need a club that's going to also do some shit to get people in.
Yep.
Or at the very least, if it's the same small ass crowd, I'm making more money
Yeah.
it's a guarantee versus the like more of a door deal type thing that I had with the original
Right.
club. And I mean, we're at a point where sometimes you got to make those economic decisions, and that's just how it
Yeah.
goes. Unfortunately.
Yep. There's a
I was really, when you said that it cost you your Wiley's weekend, I was really hoping that you had a Wiley's weekend that got canceled so I could reach out and try to get that. It's
oh,
like,
happily.
so like, yo, I'm true. I'm never gonna.
Yeah.
And
I'm
it's not because Funny Bone won't return my emails.
uh that's amazing. I sent avails out to uh Funny Business and
Mhm.
got a I headline a bunch of their rooms, and I got offered to submit for a feature weekend at Dr. Grin's, which I've never done. And
Oh, yeah, no, that's good though.
yeah, that's good. I didn't get it,
Oh,
but
okay.
that's fine.
So that was like pending, was that pending like headliner approval or something like that?
Yeah,
Usually when you have to submit, yeah. So
yeah. So that was nice, but then I sent my full avails as like, hey, sorry that didn't work out, but here are my full
yeah.
avails, and got offered a very bad feature week
Ooh.
in
At Doc.
Rochester,
Oh,
where
okay.
I've been twice.
And you've headlined twice, right?
No, no,
Oh,
I
okay.
featured twice. But
Okay.
like, what? Like, I don't understand the
Now,
disconnect of
when
why
you,
not move up.
yeah, when you say a bad feature week, are you talking about like it's the like the 4th of July weekend, or is it the headliner makes it a bad feature week?
I mean bad feature week because I live in Indianapolis and
Oh,
Rochester
okay.
is very far to
Okay.
get to
Yeah,
for feature
true.
money,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay. All right. So
which
it's
I've
not,
done twice. No,
yeah,
no, no.
exactly.
I don't know who the headliner is. I
Oh,
haven't
okay.
even looked.
Gotcha.
I haven't even
Yeah.
looked.
Sometimes they tell you would you like to do this weekend with this person and things like that.
Yeah.
I just submitted to I used to be very strict about I would look at like a large corporate, it's a large corporate chain club that I've worked for
Yeah.
before that has clubs all across the country. And every quarter they ask you for your avails and everything like that. And you know, they tell you like it's such and such week in this city with this headliner. And I used to be real
Yeah.
picky. And then I submitted for a couple of headliners and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like, and a part of it's like almost like like one of them's definitely like a YouTube star, TikTok person who has been headlining clubs now for a couple of years
Hmm.
off of it. So I think they're pre-TikTok. I think they got famous on YouTube maybe.
Okay.
But everything about their vibe from what I understand, it'd be like this is going to be a weird mix,
Yeah,
but it's good money and it means I would be able to do an entire West Coast run based off of the money from that one weekend.
of
Like that
course.
that money would cover the flight and the rental car. And it's like, all right, then I get to go do all my friends like cool indie shows or whatever.
See, that makes
Um,
sense if you can build
yeah.
off of it.
Right. Yeah. You just
And
grin and bear it for five
oh
shows.
God,
It's
yep.
like an audience that will hate me probably. Although I don't know, like this person's kind of in the redneck comic genre. And I
Okay.
was like, I pass. Like I can pass. Like
You're
I'm a
not me up
white
there. They're not
I'm
sure
a
yet.
yeah, I'm a white dude with a beard, like and a big ass forehead. They see themselves in me.
You do one liberal farmers market joke, and they're like, "Wait," and like it blows their mind. They're like,
Yeah.
"What side is he on? We can't tell." That's like
Yeah.
Josh Cox or Zane Zadie opening up for Donnie Baker, rest in peace. Which I've seen twice.
Oh my God.
They sent him to
Josh,
the
at least
wolves.
Josh, it seems like makes more sense because Josh, had a lot of like fun, like drinking, partying, like kind of material or whatever. Like
Yeah.
his whole vibe. Yeah, Zane. I mean, I remember seeing our good friend of the pod, Mitchell Potts, opening. I've never seen Mitchell more miserable than the weekend he was opening for Donnie Baker.
It's bad. It's
It's just like,
bad.
oh yeah, it was not the best crowds. I opened for Donnie Baker one time, and
Mhm.
luckily I was just doing like 15, and I just knew I'm like I'm just doing
Don't eat it.
the dumbest jokes that I have, the dumbest
I'm gonna eat it. Yep.
middle of the road jokes that I have, and it'll be fine.
Well, one of my resolutions we talked about last week was, or 2 weeks ago. Welcome back. Welcome back into the
Hmm.
pod.
Yep.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Welcome
So
back
I
for the
talked
first
about
time.
I talked about not taking these gigs.
Yes.
So I'm
So
not
you're
gonna
holding fast so far. Yeah.
I'm not gonna take it, but it's just very like my mind was automatically like, okay, what's over there? Can I make it work? Can I
Yeah.
do a run up there? But really what that does is create more work for myself for to make money to get up there, be
Yes.
miserable. And then also I'm not like beating my chest here, but I've been in that room twice. I've opened for people. I know that I can headline this room and I
Yeah.
headline for funny business.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna take it.
Yeah.
But I
This
don't
seemed
know
weird
how
to
to
me.
word a email to be like, yo, stop fucking with my money, god damn it.
But maybe just
I've
send
been
them
watching The
this
Wire.
this episode of the podcast. Maybe
I'll just send.
since
I'll just clip this
you're
up.
dead ass naming them like throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, I don't care.
It does seem odd to me that they're not having you headline that room because I've headlined that room in Rochester, and like again, like you and I, like credits wise, we're pretty neck and neck, and skill wise, you're a much better comedian than I am.
Whatever.
Like you're a better comic than I am, I think.
Tell it
Haven't always been, won't
tell it
always
to the
be,
funny business.
but right now,
Let me pull out my Mishawaka trophy. You
yep.
remember that?
Oh yeah. Yep. I think I handed you that trophy, if I'm not mistaken.
God damn.
No, but that does seem weird. I think if you, but the funny business people have always been cool, and like I think if you're
They
just
have
direct
been.
with them and just say, hey, I'd really prefer to headline that room. I've
Hmm.
featured it twice. I've done well. You know that I can headline because I do other rooms for you.
Hmm.
Um, we might also be putting like some blame on them that isn't them. Maybe it's the club owner
Yeah.
um, doesn't think you're quite ready because I had worked that and that club has moved around different locations, but I've worked
Right.
that club as a feature for 4 or 5 times, but it was spread out over the years, and I was always able to make it into a run or something, so it made sense. So I think I've only headlined it maybe twice.
Yeah.
So I definitely, it could be just the owner wants
It could be.
more
Yeah.
percolation,
I
more
like
time.
I like working for funny business most of the time. And they do take care of you. Like
Hmm.
I think it's fine. It's just that's a frustrating email
Yes.
to get because they send the money,
Yep.
they send what you'll make,
Hmm.
and then you pull up Google Maps, and you're like, how the fuck far? I know I got a Prius, but damn, and you do the mental math,
Yeah.
and you're like, this is disrespectful. This is this is less than minimum wage.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
anyway, I did this resolution, and so I should be
Hmm.
like, fuck it. But I was like, how can I make it work?
Right.
It's already harder than what I anticipated, which is just saying no.
Right. Well, I think it'll get like any resolution, it'll get easier the longer you do it and it becomes
Mhm.
natural. Now, your other resolution of writing every day, have you been sticking to that on the third day?
Yeah, so it's 3 days in. We're not taking a victory lap at all, but I think especially the morning writing gets easier the
Hmm.
longer you do it. And I know that I've done this before. I've just never stuck with it.
Hmm.
So, and I'm enjoying it. Like I'm enjoying that morning writing. It's a form of meditation. Get
Hmm.
all the junk out of my head, and then I can do some like, you know, comedy auxiliary work, like sending avails, working on my website, scheduling out social media posts, and then at night, um, I've got 2 nights in a row. So yesterday and the night before.
Hmm.
So and that's a little bit more difficult because you just want to wind down.
Yeah, and it's
Then you want
you're
to
writing down. It's the time that you're supposed to be spending with your wife, watching junk TV or whatever. Yeah, it is
yeah,
tough. I have not started yet. It's the
yeah.
third day. I said I was also going to do the writing thing, and I can give you a litany of excuses. I basically, as soon as I woke up on January 1st, drove down to my brother's to take
Hmm.
him to the grocery store and make sure he's all set up because I'm getting ready to go on the road for a couple of weeks and make sure he's good.
Hmm.
But yesterday I could have written in the morning, I could
Hmm.
have written this morning. I wasn't like I just fucked off. I was doing shit like
Right.
but it wasn't doing the thing that I said I was going to do. So I'm going to try and do it. Particularly next week, I'm on the road and car camping for the next 4 or 5 days, and so that makes it a little difficult
Yeah.
as far as like just having the place and the routine and all that kind of stuff. Have you thought about that? Like when you are on the road, the travel aspect of it, or being able to kind of keep with it?
I just free wrote about that. Like it just came
Oh, did
out.
you?
Yeah, it was like I'll just spend a dedicated hour instead of trying to, especially like on weekend nights,
Hmm.
um, spend like a dedicated hour, like a chunk, instead of breaking it up, trying to break it up.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's much easier when I'm at home, obviously,
Yeah.
as you just mentioned,
Hmm.
but I'm going to try to be kind to myself, therefore stick with it and find
Hmm.
ways around, give myself leeway. It's not like if I don't do 30 minutes here and 30 minutes there, it's a failure. But if I can
Yeah.
set aside time like I would for this podcast for an hour or
Mhm.
a meeting for an hour, make the actual effort to do it. I think I'm just going to prioritize it higher over other things, and that'll be the way that I stick with it. But also, like, we're going to have slip ups with this. It's a
Yeah.
creative endeavor. So we have to make sure that we're not so hard on ourselves that um, we give up. We say, fuck it.
Right.
This doesn't work for me. And I
Yeah.
know we're making excuses at day 3, but it's an important thing to remember. Shit comes up and you
Mhm.
can't always get to it.
Yeah.
Uh, it's
Yeah.
unrealistic.
I've been really focusing on the being kind to myself part, and I'll get around to the writing part later.
Yeah.
I also just want to say that I'm starting off 2024 great. I just now plugged my microphone in. So I've been
Yeah,
recording
Matt's
off the
back.
the mic from the laptop. So if you hear a dramatic increase in audio quality for the last 20 minutes of this podcast from my side of things, it's because I'm real dumb.
That
Also, we reorganized this back room a little bit
Mhm.
because Denise bought UV lights for our plants for the winter time. Because usually like we
Yeah.
just do our best and we kind of have to almost start over every spring with new plants.
Yeah.
So she dedicated and bought, so we had to move a bunch of shit around back here for the new grow light system. And all the weed we're growing,
Yeah,
not really.
well, I'm
So,
coming. I'm on my way, baby.
all right, yeah.
Megan just did the same thing. That's funny.
Okay. Yeah.
Plugged in or not, your mic looks great, Matt.
Thank you. Yes.
Still looks strong.
It looks
I would have never
professional.
known that
And
it
again,
wasn't
it's just
plugged in.
another perk for the YouTube audience. They get to see this quality mic in the foreground.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back in slow motion and watch you realize and see what curse word you said that you mumbled. Was it more of a fuck, or was it like, oh shit, or was it
No,
like,
it's
not
just like
again? Oh, this shit
a
again.
quiet resignation. It's just like, all right, I did that again.
Damn it.
Uh,
You wanna plug in some dates?
let's do some plugs. Before we do that, I
I'm a
have one
professional.
more post show that I want to do that I want to talk about that I
Oh yeah.
had, which was on December 28th. I did Zero Proof
Oh
Lounge up in
yeah.
Fishers, Indiana. It was a Red Flag comedy production. Dustin Burkhart asked me to headline this. It was the first show that they've done there. This is a sober bar, essentially. They have fancy mocktails and cool coffee drinks and stuff like that, but it's a very hip space, very cool. It was a great lineup. I got to see Zane. They put Zane on the show since he was back home for the holidays. I met Zane's mom, which was cool. She was very nice.
What?
Yeah, he brought his mom out. It's the first time she'd ever seen him do stand
I
up.
know. That's
Yeah,
nuts. Is it
yeah.
because it was sober bar?
I don't know. If she's a devout Muslim, then she might not like go to places that have alcohol for sale. So that might be the
True.
reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I know he was raised Muslim, so perhaps that's the reason why. But she was very nice. It was very nice to meet her. And it was a super fun show. And the first time I've ever worked for Red Flag, which is weird because we've been like orbiting around each other for a long time, and so it's cool to finally work for that team out of Indy. It was such a fun show, and the audience was so great despite it physically being terrible for comedy.
Oh really?
It had a big giant high ceiling, which is
Yep.
never good, but also like the actual bar is this giant square slash rectangle in the middle of the floor that takes up
Oh
most of the space. So people had to kind of sit around this bar thing. And
oh
there was
geez.
definitely one corner that could not see me the entire time I was performing because like all the coffee making machine and shit like that, bar shit was
Right.
in the way. So they were just listening to the show. Um, but in spite of that, it was still great. Were a great audience. It was really, we sold it out, and
That's
not that it's a
incredible.
ton of people, but it was one of those things where sometimes you can just power through and will it to be good if everybody's on board to even overcome these sort of physical things. But yeah, beforehand, I'm looking at this room. I'm like, this is gonna not work. But from the
Right.
jump, they liked everybody, and everybody did a good job. So
That's
hell yeah,
awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome because I hate watching comedy sober. So
yeah.
that's I'm glad that worked out for you.
You could have just left that at I hate comedy, watching comedy. At this point in our career, it's just like,
This shit again.
yeah,
That's awesome. Well, okay, I'll match that one with a show I did at Hotel Tango on the
Okay.
22nd,
Okay.
or the 21st. So I've done that room before, and all the comics get there, and there's like a massive bar crawl happening, and the stage is like where they set up the photo booth. So like 10 minutes before the show's about to start, there's like drunk like co-workers like trying to get 16
Hmm.
people, and the host goes up and he's like, there's a comedy show going to start in about 15 minutes. Hope you're here for comedy. Nobody. And so people that finally, this is why I hate a free show sometimes.
Yeah.
People finally show up. They have to stand in the back right next to the bar.
Hmm.
And this group right next to the stage is like probably 12 people are just talking at
Yeah.
each other loud. And so the first comics go up, they try. I mean, what's worse than having comedy pop up when you're just trying to hang out with your friends? Would
I
that be a nightmare if you like if we went to
yes.
lunch and
Yeah.
then somebody pulled out a microphone and was like,
Yeah.
"Hey guys, comedy's about to start, you dickheads."
Man, the biggest example that I ever had was one time in LA. They were doing a comedy. Kelly McInerney and a couple other comics ran the show at a sushi restaurant, and it was packed, absolutely packed. It's also Kobe Bryant's final home game with the Lakers, which is on
Oh
the
my,
TVs in the
yeah.
bar area, right? They go up. There's not really a stage. There's like a PA sort of in the corner, but it's almost hidden. Like, so nobody's expecting this. I remember Kelly goes up and gets on the mic and goes, "Hey everybody, we're gonna have a stand-up comedy show in 10 minutes." And the entire crowd just goes, "Oh," just like, fuck,
What
god
the?
damn it. And literally most of the restaurants like, "Check please," like
Yeah,
immediately. They're
yeah,
like, "We're getting the fuck out of here."
yep.
And when that groan happened, I was standing next to Deborah DiGiovanni. The two of us were on the show, and we both just start cackling wildly. We're like, "Oh,
So
this is gonna be
funny.
awesome! This is gonna be the greatest show ever!"
So funny. It's so
But it was,
funny. God, that is hilarious. This was just, I don't give a shit. This is
yeah,
pure
yeah,
apathy. We're gonna stay here and talk. And then I was headlining, but I got the, when you go last, you get to watch everything happening in the room. So that was my
mhm,
first 10 minutes. I've got finally got people to turn around. And
yeah,
by the end of my set, it was fine. Like everybody's having a good time. But watching the host go up and try, and then I felt so bad for the other comics. There's nothing you
yeah,
can do. It's
yeah.
like you don't. I was telling the comics before the show, we can't be like, hey, you guys need to shut the hell up so we can tell our so we can do our art.
Yes,
That's how the bar loses money, and that's how you never get to do comedy again. But I
right.
just thought, doing before a holiday, doing a show that's
Mhm.
free, how do we not see this coming?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. But you survived and you got a
Yeah, we
story out of
survived.
it. And those
It was
those
fun.
other comics got thicker skin now and learned a little something. There you
Look at
go.
us go. It was a great way to bring in the new year.
Yeah. Speaking of the new year, let's look at those future dates. What you got coming up that you need to let the people know about?
I am off for one more glorious week where I will hopefully cement my writing schedule,
Hmm.
um, and get that going. And then January 13th, that's the Saturday, I am in Saugatuck, probably for the last time after they hear this podcast. And January 14th, that's a Sunday. I'm super excited to come back to Bloomington doing your show at Cardinal Spirits. I believe that's
Hmm.
at 7 p.m. Uh,
I think doors at 6, show at 7, I believe. Yep.
Awesome. I love that place. I love their booze. That's not a sober
Hmm.
show, and
Nope, it is not.
I'm looking forward to it. And then I got a corporate on that Wednesday, but I do want to plug I will be in Niles, Michigan at the Underground Laugh Lounge Friday and Saturday. That's the 19th and 20th. Please go get tickets at dwightsimmons.com. My first time at that club as it's new. I've heard great things and I would love to pack it out. So come
Yeah.
through, y'all.
Hell yeah. The day that this will it was just going to post on Thursday, probably. Is
No,
that what you're thinking?
I'll get it up today.
Okay, good. So a little bit even more advanced notice. Tomorrow on Thursday, January 4th, I'll be headlining Sushi High in Denver, Colorado. Katie Bowman and Brad Galley's show. I'm very excited to be doing that on Thursday, January 4th. So come out and see me, Denver. Supposed to be a really cool, small, like funky, perfect room for comedy. That's what I've heard. It's like in the basement of the restaurant,
Oh,
and it's
I
supposedly great.
love both those people.
Yeah. And then on Saturday, January 6th, I'll be participating in 51st Jokes at the Bug Theater in Denver, Colorado. I'm excited about that. That is my writing challenge for this week, is to write my first joke of the year to perform, and make it good enough to hang with the fucking Denver comedy scene. What am I thinking to agree? Like, one
Yeah.
of the best comedy scenes in the country. And I'm like, here's my new joke.
Yep. Well, luckily you have a million hours in the car.
That's true. Yeah, I start my drive today pretty much as soon as we wrap up this taping. So that is the main thing. I looked at old ideas
Mm-hmm.
that I never turned into jokes, and like always, I'm like, I fucking hate all these. This is why I never turn them into jokes.
Just do your
So,
closer and say that I came up with this an hour ago.
oh man, I was thinking, it's like, man, I hope I see a funny road sign on the way to Colorado so I could do a joke about it. But also looking forward, back home in Indiana, I'm headlining the Brick Room Comedy Club in Noblesville, Indiana on the 12th and the 13th. It would be really super dope if we could sell those out. It's another cool, small, funky room. I've only headlined it once. I did a one-nighter there. This is my first full weekend, but that would be really cool. So tickets for all of those things are linked on my website, and you can also just Google my name to get there, Matt Martin. That's it for the plugs.
That's I meant to send you a picture, but friend of the podcast came out to my Dayton shows and she was wearing a Matt Martin t-shirt. And I thought that was really dope.
Sweet.
Her name you ask?
Yes.
Nope.
Fantastic. All right.
Yeah, I am the best. I am the best. I'll send you the picture and maybe you'll know. But
Okay, maybe I'll recognize them. Yeah.
yeah, but super sweet that people listen to podcasts are coming out to
Yeah.
shows, and please don't take it personally. I'm bad with names, my own included.
Mhm.
I'm trying to get better, but that'll be next year's resolution.
Yeah, 2025, you're gonna know all the names.
All the names.
Uh so we do have two questions that have come in. My question to you, Dwight, is do we want to try and tackle one of these, or do we want to save it and next week can be just more dedicated? Because we had a lot of catching up to do. We had to kind of also recap the sort of the writing challenge that we've both supposedly undertaken. You've actually undertaken it.
Just a
Kicked
couple
around the
days.
idea of it.
Just a couple days.
Do you think we have time to get through one of these questions? Because I also have one other thing that I wanted to talk about from the New Year's shows that was kind of a funny thing that happened. So I'll let you
Yeah.
choose this adventure, Dwight. Do you want me to recap New Year's a little bit more, or do you want to tackle a question?
We'll do a full tease. Do a full
Right.
tease on the questions, and then we can riff on the rest of the New
Okay.
Year's
Okay. Perfect.
debacles.
Yes. So, if you would also like to be featured and on an episode, us answering a question that you have or comments that you have about the podcast, and now it sounds like you're going to get a full episode tease. We're going to start
Mhm.
teasing it, and then we're going to actually answer it. You can email us at our email address, which is MatandDwight@gmail.com. That is MatandDwight@gmail.com. We'd love to have your question. And next week, we'll do a real quick wrap up of my shows in Colorado, and then we'll jump right back. We'll jump right into answering questions. So that'll be next week's episode. But the thing that I wanted to talk to you about, sorry, I'm gonna leave this person's name out of this. But so I did my New Year's shows, and they were a ton of fun. Like I said, I had really, really good shows. And I sold some merch, which is tough at the Attic. Comedy Attic audiences don't buy a ton of merch in my
They don't.
experience.
Yep.
And I did okay on merch, and I had a lot of people very, very complimentary and stuff. There was a woman from Kenya, and it was her first stand-up comedy show she'd ever been to, and she was very
Wow.
nice about it. And then there was a woman from India, completely different person, different show, same thing. And I was like, yeah, that's it, you're done. You don't need to see any more stand-up. I got it covered.
Yeah.
You saw the best. Why would you? No. But during my set, one of the topics that I like talking about these days is therapy. I like talking about my journey through therapy, particularly, and how it helped me with my sobriety. I've got joke. I keep writing more therapy jokes. It's becoming this whole theme to the end of the hour, right? All right. So I wake up on Monday to this email address. All right. Hi, Matt. I was at your show last night in Bloomington. Thank you so much for the great New Year's Eve. You mentioned during your show that you are waitlisted for a counselor. And this is true. Like, I was in sliding scale therapy for a very long time. My therapist left that practice. She left being a therapist. So I am now waitlisted because there's such a demand for sliding scale therapy. It's such a
Right.
cheap option that I'm on the wait list to get back in. And I talk about that on stage, but I mostly talk about that on stage as a device to get into the next joke, right?
Right.
Which this person didn't maybe fully understand that. You mentioned during your show that you are waitlisted for a counselor. I'm not a counselor, but I am a certified professional life coach with a sliding scale of $5 to
Oh
$250 per hour,
no.
and no plans to ever have a career in real estate, which ties into one of the jokes, right?
Yeah. Life coach.
I don't really need it. The rest of it's kind of trying to sell me on life coaching and how it's different from counseling and all this kind of stuff. And look,
If
if any of our listeners are life coaches,
oh my God.
I don't want to insult you. I do not want to
Yeah.
insult you. If that's your hustle, that's your grind. Maybe
Yeah.
you're good at it. Maybe you're actually helping people. But the way that I read this, when I read this email, I was like, well, now I got to write a chunk shitting on life coaches. Like,
The difference between life coaching and therapy, the
yeah,
racket, the self-help racket.
the difference between being a highly regulated
Yeah.
like
This is
industry with sort of not certifications, actual licenses, a
right.
license handed down by a governmental agency versus I took a BuzzFeed quiz and it now said I'm a life coach.
You know
But
how,
also, what a sliding scale, huh? $5
I
to
don't know.
$250.
That's wild.
Why would you even put that $250 on there?
That's a
Like I'm gonna
it's
be like, you know what? Thank you. I've been doing the low end of sliding scale for so long. Let me try to top that thing out. You sure I can't give you 300? You sure I can't give
yeah.
you $300 an hour?
How much coaching do you want? How much do you
Jesus
want to level up?
Christ.
That's
Jesus
hilarious.
Christ.
That's you're not quite a therapist, and
You're not even close to a
you're
therapist.
not
It's not
it's
even,
like it's you're like the friend that people go to when they want to vent.
dude.
And you call
I
it's like when musicians put comic in their like Instagram bio. It's like
yeah,
musician, comic. I was gonna go see Masigo at a concert and I read his
yeah.
bio and he had comedian in there and I was like, fuck him. I'll never listen to his music again. You're lying. This doesn't
Oh,
you're not helping people.
I'm glad that I changed mine. I usually used to say comedian, musician, podcaster because I have
Yeah.
a band as well. But I
Yeah.
changed it to just comedian, and thank God Dwight's still my friend. That's good.
Yeah, this
No,
is
like
no, this
life
is
coaches,
terrible.
in my experience, anyone who I've ever met who's a life coach or a person from my circle of acquaintances who's become a life coach is the person who has their shit together the least.
Right.
They're usually like they're like manic personalities, and they quickly move on from like they're a life coach for a couple of years and then they go on to something else. Like they
Yeah.
become like, now I'm a nutritionist. Okay, another thing that you didn't actually go to school for, that you
That's
just read some shit on the internet and decided that now you're this thing.
I just don't what a weird business to have.
What a weird business thing to have. But also, again, maybe I'm being overly skeptical. This person was very complimentary and said they had a good time at my show. Thank you for coming to the show. I
Uh-huh.
appreciate that. But it's also like, I mean, I just, I guess you got to be hustling. You got to be grinding, trying to get those new clients. But is she like this? I mean, I was talking about therapy. So there's an opening there. It
You're
would have
too
been way more
kind.
insulting if I didn't say anything about therapy. She's like, from your set, I thought maybe you could use a life coach.
Hey, listen, you can't quite
Yeah.
afford real therapy.
But
That's
man,
you
what a
got cold
weird,
called.
I got cold called.
They went to your website, found
Yeah.
your email address.
They did. That's the
They
thing they did.
they
Yeah.
crafted an email
Hmm.
with like it was so polite as well. It was so polite. Now, Matt, would you consider us life coaches for this podcast? Coaching young and through the life of stand-up comedy? I put that in our bio? We'll get
Yes.
bites.
If we start, if we start charging money for it, yeah.
It's a
Whatever.
sliding scale, everybody.
It's a sliding scale, free to also free.
It's a
No,
five-star review to
Yeah,
That's
yeah, maybe I'm just being very ignorant. I don't know, but
I can also see you taking this very personally.
I don't take it personally as much as I just think I think professional life coach is like a kind of a scam of a job, if that makes sense.
It's 100% a scam, just like a motivational speaker is a
Yes,
scam.
yes.
Like we knew a comic that did motivational speaking on the
Hmm.
side
Hmm.
because you can charge schools to make a lot more money if you say, "Hey kids,"
Yeah.
and then you dress in a goofy tie. You can charge a lot of money to just
We know.
spew out the golden rule: treat
Mhm.
others the way you want to be treated,
Exactly.
stay in
Yeah.
school, and
Yes.
also dance around the stage a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you earn the money when you dance. That's really what you're earning the money
That's the
for. Is
act
those
out.
dance, those dance,
That's the
the
act
act
out.
out. That's what you need the YouTube for.
Yeah, it's got to be
Yeah.
PG. There's yeah. The only difference was that he didn't hump the stool
Yeah.
in the in the school.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not. I only watched the highlight reels.
um, we actually know two comics that did that because there's also another comic that did it, and their entire thing they specialize in anti-bullying is what they would go into schools and talk about. And I saw this person do some of their anti-bullying material in a comedy club. We were both on a show to
Yeah,
a room
yeah.
full of adults,
Go
and
for it.
he talked about this is the side gig is that he does this in schools, and then he did a good 7 minutes
Oh my
on
goodness.
anti-bullying with no jokes to a room full of grown-ass people that
Oh,
paid to see jokes.
oh boy. Oh no.
Yeah.
Don't you just love comedy?
Yep. These are just some of the names that we're dropping into Patreon that we are launching this year.
Also, Shannon. You know a Shannon?
I know several Shannons.
I think her name is Shannon. I did some digging. Shannon
Okay.
Sheehy
Shannon Sheehy.
came to Limestone last year. That's who it
Okay.
is. And she's a
Oh,
fan of the podcast.
Shannon from Louisville. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
dope.
Yep.
Shout out to you, Shannon.
Shout out to Shannon. And that's how we want to end the podcast, by eventually getting around to appreciating and thanking someone who listens to the podcast, as opposed to me complaining about someone who came to my show and reached out via email.
Life coaching. I got
Ah,
nothing. That blew
yeah.
my mind. That blew my mind.
All right. Yeah. Well, until next week, everybody. This has been Matt and Dwight. Just might. We just might dig a hole. What if most of our listeners are life coaches? Wouldn't just our numbers plummet? If you're a life coach, hit us up on that email and let me know how wrong I am.
Yes, please defend your
Yes,
profession.
defend your profession.
Oh,
And
also,
explain why you're not a therapist. Let's just get into that.
it's too hard, Matt. It's too hard. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Yep. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you back next week with another episode of Matt and Dwight Just Might. It's the listener question episode. So if you want to be part of that, send in a question, MatandDwight@gmail.com.